Hey guys, thank you so much for clicking on this video. My name is Chris, and if you're here, you most likely just got done watching Avengers Endgame, and if you have not, please click away. This will be completely spoiler filled. The movie will be completely ruined for you, and I really don't want that to happen, so go away. Don't even look at the comment section of this video. Come back after you have seen it. What we'll be doing here is going into the ending, explaining the movie and how it sets up Phase 4, that secret end credit scene and what it could mean, and a hidden character in the movie that you missed that is probably going to be a big deal later on. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and dive in and talk about the ending for Avengers Endgame. And this will be a really quick summary before we get into the juicy stuff. Scott Lang, who we last saw at the end of Ant-Man and the Wasp, of course being stuck in the quantum realm, coincidentally gets let out by a rat. The van he was in has been impounded. He's brought to present time, which is actually 5 years after the snap, getting caught up with everything that happened in Infinity War, leading him to the Avengers where he explains time travel. From there, the movie plays on to be a great nostalgia hit record trip. You go through Thor 2, the first Avenger, Guardians of the Galaxy. Basically every movie that had an Infinity Stone, they split up into teams and went out to get them. There are some hiccups along the way. You have Captain America fight Captain America. You have, of course, oh my god, Hawkeye and Black Widow fighting to be sacrificed for the Soul Stone because it's the only way they can get it. Very sad. I love me Natasha Romanoff, but this just makes me want to see her Black Widow solo movie more because this pretty much confirms it's gonna be a prequel. But the biggest hiccup is, of course, through a very convoluted, I didn't completely love the fact that Nebula, being in the same timeline as her former past self, who at this time was evil, they're connected through the same network, and this is how Thanos finds out that the Avengers are out to stop the plot of what he does in the future. We have a classic switcheroo of Nebula going back in time, bringing Thanos in. He is a little late though, because since they were able to collect all the stones, and Iron Man, of course, creating a gauntlet that we're just gonna accept the fact that it can hold the stones on it, even though it took a whole different planet of elf-sized creatures to make something capable of holding the stones. But okay, again, we're letting it loose. We've gone through 22 movies, and little details like that we're just gonna ignore. But of course, they use that to snap back everyone in reality. We find out it works immediately because Hawkeye gets a call from his wife, but it's at this exact moment Bad Nebula brought in Thanos. They fight for a bit with the three main heroes, Thor, Iron Man, Captain America. What an amazing battle between those three guys. I just still can't get over laughing at having a fat Thor there. I really wish they didn't do that to the character. I don't mind you making him a drunk, but it was just so funny and laughable, and not even in a good way to see a fat Thor. That probably sounded cool on paper, but it just did not work out on screen in my opinion. But getting to it, of course, all the people who are snapped come back. Full war with Thanos' army. The children of Thanos back because this is them from the past. So even though they got killed in Infinity War, that was them in the future. Didn't matter. So much amazing stuff here, but the highlights, of course, Captain America finally being able to pick up that hammer and using it in battle in such amazing creative ways, because watching Captain America fight Thanos was kind of goofy, but him having that hammer in his hands made it seem like, alright, now he definitely stands a chance. Gwyneth Paltrow in her own Iron Man suit. Yep, okay, I'm digging it. Everyone is here, so why not? Thought I would hate it, but it was actually cool to see husband and wife fight together. But, of course, we get to the scene where my man Iron Man dies. It was very unexpected, did not see it coming. That's all I'll pretty much say for the movie. Now, what this all means for Phase 4, it leaves us off with, well, we don't have an Iron Man anymore. Or so they would have you think, because if you stay for the post-credit scene, or I mean end credit scene, the very last thing, you don't get anything visually, but you do hear the sounds of a blacksmith working. It's a hammer going down, and it's the same sound from Iron Man 1, where Tony Stark was making the Iron Man suit for the very first time. Now, one could interpret this as full circle, that it's just another little honor that the movie gives, being that Iron Man dies in this film. But in reality, this is the movie telling you that Iron Man will live on, that the character in essence is coming back, and they do that by the sound of someone hitting a hammer, building their first suit. The possibilities of who this could be are three. One, you have the obvious Morgan, his daughter in this movie. It would only make sense that this little girl would grow up to be the next heir to Iron Man. I'm sure he has a little Iron Man suit for her to protect her, but being the smart guy that Iron Man was, and we saw he did leave behind a goodbye video, he probably left a goodbye initiative to protect his daughter, or maybe on her 18th birthday, he has a suit stored away for her that will come find her when it's time. The second theory that's been floating around that I don't really believe, but okay, that we will get a version of Ironheart. Iron Man will treat his his suits and his collection of stuff as sort of like Mjolnir and pass it on to who's ever worthy. If someone ever is as smart as him, has goodwill like him, is willing to take up that mantle, there is an initiative set in place for them to get that stuff. And of course, in the comic books, we know Ironheart is a black female who just happens to be extremely smart, way smarter than Tony Stark ever was, and well, it would make sense that he would then pass that on to her. But theory I'm gonna go with that is really out there and you guys won't believe it, and it has to do with the hidden character in this movie that you missed. Before I explain why that person would be Iron Man, let me explain who he is. It's gonna be the grandson of Steve Rogers, Captain America. Now, by the end of the movie, we saw Steve Rogers take the time machine because it was his duty to take all the Infinity Stones and place them back at the exact moment they took them away so the timeline isn't changed and everything would go and lead up to Endgame. So the snap would happen, so the losses would happen, the deaths would happen, but by the end, it was all fixed. So no, don't think Loki is still somewhere out there surviving and that's what his Disney Plus story will be about, him with that Tesseract running around, because Captain America put it back to before that even happened. And while that journey might have taken a few months for Steve Rogers to do, he actually decided to stay and not go back instantaneously like the Hulk, Falcon, and Winter Soldier were expecting. In fact, they see him sitting just across the bay. He is still alive. He did not time travel because, well, we saw Peggy Carter was still alive just a year or two before the events of Infinity War. And you have to remember, Captain America has the super soldier serum, so he can probably live a lot longer than the average human. So probably in this timeline, Peggy Carter has been dead maybe 5-7 years, but Captain America will still probably live on to be 120, 130, who knows? So he did not need a time travel. He just decided to stay back in time with Peggy Carter to get that final dance, live a happy life, like he said in his own words, live a little bit of what Tony Stark was doing, having a family. So now take that in, because he had a family, he most likely had a son. And because of the way time travel works, no way that son would be the age of the mysterious character I'm mentioning. The character I'm talking about is most likely 16, 15 years old. When you watch Iron Man's funeral and they're panning to all the characters, almost every single one of those characters is going to be familiar to you. Only other ones will be the children of Hawkeye or children of other Avengers, but there is this one lone person who is white, blonde-haired, blue eyes, standing by himself kid that you're like, who is that? That right there is Captain America's grandson. And you have to believe some of the genetics of the super soldier serum did pass on to this individual, and he definitely holds the right to be the next Iron Man. Hell, he could have already been Iron Man for a while, because you have to remember early on in the movie, Captain America got a version of the Iron Man suit from Tony Stark. He handed it to him and said, you take this, I'm gonna go lay down, you finish this off, I don't want any part of it. We never saw what Captain America did to that reactor. He could have kept it all these years waiting for the right moment. I thought it was gonna be used in the final battle, but he could have probably have passed that on to his son or grandson. So those are the possibilities of how Iron Man come back. I don't really think we'll get Robert Downey Jr. unless they decide to do a whole time travel thing, which I gotta mention, they didn't explain that this time travel thing is a one-time use. In fact, they said they can use it whenever they want as long as they got Pym particles. So it's kind of something that'll bug Marvel fanboys and be like, well, just use the time machine. That person died, just use the time machine. Oh, that's happening, just use the time machine. So I hope in future movies they explain that this time machine is broken and they can't keep using it, or that it'll just mess up the fabric of everything they fixed. Getting on to the Phase 4 movies and how this all affects it, well, as far as we know for Spider-Man Homecoming coming out next month, it's gonna stay just fine. Everyone came back. It is 5 years later and nobody aged. The people who weren't snapped are 5 years older, but the people who were not snapped, well, they were the same age when they got snapped. And we'll just see them all going back to normal. Maybe Far From Home takes place a year later, because in those trailers, Peter Parker looks pretty happy, and I would think he's very sad of the loss of his friend and mentor, Tony Stark. So not really much to judge off there. We know what's gonna happen there. For Guardians of the Galaxy 3, who thank God is being directed and written by James Gunn, because he is gonna get to play with the character of Thor. That's right, Thor is gonna be joining them for Guardians of the Galaxy 3. This is not uncommon. Avengers have joined the Guardians in the comics before. Hell, Iron Man has joined them once. But the main center of the movie will be to find Gamora. This is not the same Gamora that we grew up with in the first and second Guardians. This is a Gamora that hasn't even met the Guardians. The one we care for and love love died in Infinity War, and this is just an alternate reality version of her. That's why she can still exist in this timeline. And Guardians of the Galaxy 3 will just revolve around the team, who hopefully has a nice buffed out Thor. That's the way the movie better start, with a little fitness scene with Thor back in shape. But it's going to be them trying to find Gamora and bring her back, and I guess try to make her fall in love with Peter Quill, but she didn't seem too happy with it. Unfortunately, we get no word of what's going on with the Vision. Wasn't even hinted at once. They didn't even try resurrecting him. Shuri doesn't even let us know what she did. If they stored his brain somewhere in Wakanda, hell, he could show up in Black Panther 2. Maybe something Shuri is still needing to work and twinker on. So WandaVision will most likely be a prequel of what happened between the events of Civil War and Infinity War, of them just falling in love and running away. Falcon and Winter Soldier, oh my god, they finally did it, man. Sam Wilson is Captain America. I was hoping Captain America would kind of give him a vial too, to give him some super soldier serum, but he handed him his shield and he was like, the world needs a Captain America. I'm sorry I was selfish and wanted to live my own life, but I came back so the world could continue having a Captain America, which is good enough, man. Like, Captain America has deserved the right to be selfish. And I know a lot of people will be pissed to be like, why'd he give it to Sam? Give it to Winter Soldier. At least he has a little more superhuman in him. Yeah, but the guy has blood on his hands. I mean, he killed Tony Stark's parents. He killed a bunch of other people. And I know, he was brainwashed, but still, his hands have blood, so let's just let Sam do it. And plus, I really dig that comic costume, so I hope they bring that to life. But now this totally makes sense how the Disney Plus series will go, and I cannot wait to see that. But hey, in all honesty, don't be too sad if you're gonna miss Captain America Steve Rogers holding that shield, because there's very much a possibility we could still get a Captain America 4 with Steve Rogers holding the shield, because hey, he went back in time with Peggy, but that's not to say there's not some villain, something sinister that happens way back in his time. This could be something Indiana Jones style, where Captain America is saving his girl Peggy, is joining his society again with the knowledge of what happens in the future, and we can get some classic Captain America villains in there. It could be a lot of fun. So Captain America 4, still a definite possibility. Other than that, we have no idea how the Fox characters will be integrated. If for some reason the snapback brought some mutant gene into them, if Galactus is out there somewhere. This is just my ending explain. If there's anything I missed that you guys caught, go ahead and let me know down below. If you have any theories, speculation of what went on, your favorite part, anything and all that, just go ahead and let me know down below. Be sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter at 3C Film Review. As always, I'm Chris. Take care.